They fear you more than you realize. The moment you walk into a room, the atmosphere shifts, because deep down, they know you are not ordinary. They see your strength and your resilience, and it reminds them of everything they tried to break in you but couldn't. They whisper behind closed doors, because the truth is this: you are the one they cannot control, and that makes you dangerous to their comfort. They fear you to death, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are becoming. You are not surrounded by a crowd, but you carry the force of an army within yourself. An army of one can move mountains when that one person is aligned with purpose, and that is exactly why they react the way they do. They know that you have survived storms that would have destroyed anyone else. They know that you rise every time you are pushed down. They know that when they attack you, you come back stronger. That's why their fear is so loud, because your resilience has turned into a weapon they cannot fight against. Every battle you've endured has prepared you for this. They wanted to see you collapse, but instead they watched you build yourself stronger brick by brick. They wanted to silence you, but your voice carries louder than ever. They wanted you to quit, but quitting was never in your nature. And now, you stand here not as a victim, but as a warrior. Proof that one person with courage is more powerful than an army of doubters. That's why they fear you. They know they cannot defeat the unshakable. If you are hearing this now, know that you are not here by accident. This is the moment you are reminded of what's inside you. Stay until the end of this message, because there are revelations waiting that will confirm what you already feel. You are rising while others tremble. The ones who once underestimated you will have no choice but to acknowledge you. And the truth is, their fear is confirmation of your power. They never feared you when you were silent. They never feared you when you doubted yourself. They never feared you when you played small. But the moment you began to rise, the moment you began to embrace your strength, the moment you refused to break, that's when their fear began. They realized then that no matter how much they tried to surround you, you carried the might of an army of one. And when one person is willing to stand against everyone, that person becomes unstoppable. So let their fear remind you of your influence. Let their whispers remind you of your strength. Let their resistance remind you that you are moving in the right direction. Because the louder their fear, the clearer the truth. You are the one they cannot stop. They look at you and they don't see just a person. They see a force that cannot be contained. That's why the fear is so intense. They remember every attempt they made to keep you small, and they know it all failed. You are standing now with the kind of strength that comes only from battles fought and survived. They can't quite understand it, but they know one thing for sure. You are not ordinary, and that terrifies them. Fear has become their only response to the power you carry. Before we move forward, I want to remind you of something important. When you finish this video, take a moment to write your most sincere wishes in the comments and add the number 777 beside them. This simple act is more than just typing. It's about declaring to the universe that you are ready to receive what belongs to you. It's about releasing energy that aligns with your destiny. And don't forget to subscribe, because there are even deeper messages ahead waiting to meet you exactly where you are. This is how you lock in your rise, and this is how you turn belief into momentum. They fear you because you are unpredictable. You don't move the way they expect you to. You don't stay where they want you to. You don't settle when they hope you will. That unpredictability makes you dangerous to anyone trying to control you. When you stand as an army of one, they can't calculate your next step, and that alone makes them uneasy. People fear what they cannot understand, and they cannot understand you because you move by purpose, not by pressure. Every time they tried to build walls around you, you found a way to break through. Every time they tried to box you in, you stretched beyond the limits. Every time they thought they had you cornered, you reminded them that one person with faith, courage, and resilience is stronger than an entire crowd of doubters. That's why their voices tremble when your name is spoken. That's why their plans fall apart when you rise. That's why their fear grows louder the higher you climb. And this is what they will never admit. Deep down, they admire the very strength that scares them. They wish they could carry what you carry. They wish they could rise after falling. They wish they could face opposition and still move forward. But because they cannot, they project their insecurity as fear toward you. Don't mistake their fear for hatred. It's often just recognition that you embody what they lack. So keep walking with your head held high. Let their fear echo in the background while your steps echo louder in the present. Let their doubts fuel your determination. Let their resistance sharpen your resolve. Remember this truth. Being feared is not a burden. It's proof of your influence. When one person becomes an army against everyone, fear is the only weapon others have left. And fear is powerless against someone who refuses to back down. They fear you because you are proof that no amount of pressure can crush true purpose. When they see you, they see the reflection of every failed attempt to stop you. They tried to bury your confidence with lies, but it grew back stronger. They tried to surround you with opposition, but you stood tall as an army of one against everyone. They tried to make you doubt yourself, but now you carry a level of clarity that pierces through their fear like light breaking through the dark. And that is what unsettles them. You cannot be broken, because your strength was built in the fire. Think about it. Most people crumble when life tests them. They give in when the storms hit. They shrink back when the crowd turns against them. But you stood your ground. Even when you felt alone, you fought. Even when you didn't have a cheering crowd, you moved forward. Even when doubt was whispering in your ear, you silenced it with courage. And that's what sets you apart. You are not ordinary. You are extraordinary. You are the kind of person who rises from the ashes while others are still staring at the smoke. And so, when people look at you now, they don't see the struggles you faced. They only see the strength you carry. That's why they whisper. That's why they tremble. That's why they fear you to death. Because the truth is, your presence reminds them of everything they failed to destroy. You are living proof that nothing they threw against you was strong enough to win. And if they couldn't break you then, they know they can't break you now. Every time you walk into a room, you shift the atmosphere. You don't need to raise your voice. Your presence alone speaks. You don't need to prove your worth. Your resilience proves it for you. You don't need to announce your victories. Your survival is the loudest announcement of all. This is why you are feared. Because without even trying, you remind people of the power they don't have. And deep down, they know that no matter how many stand against you, you will always find a way to rise. Do not let their fear intimidate you. Instead, let it confirm that you are moving in the right direction. Fear from others is often a sign that you are carrying something greater than yourself. Their fear is not really about you, it's about what you represent. You represent courage in the face of fear, strength in the middle of weakness, faith in the middle of doubt. And when people see that, it unsettles them, because it exposes their own insecurities. Remember this, you are not called to blend in. You are called to stand out, and standing out will always attract fear from those who cannot understand you. But that fear is not your problem. It is their problem. You were not created to carry their insecurities. You were created to carry your destiny. And your destiny is not small. It is vast, it is powerful, and it will keep unfolding, no matter how many voices rise against you. So keep moving. Keep rising, keep shining. Let the fear of others remind you of your significance. Let their whispers remind you of your worth. Let their resistance remind you that you are unstoppable. You are the army of one against everyone, and there is nothing they can do to change that. They fear you because they cannot predict you. They thought they knew how you would react under pressure, but every time life cornered you, you surprised them. You didn't crumble, You didn't fold, you didn't give in, you rose. That unpredictability makes you a mystery they cannot solve, and it terrifies them. Because when someone cannot be controlled, cannot be broken, and cannot be silenced, that person becomes a force greater than any crowd. And that is exactly who you are, an army of one standing firm against everyone. The truth is, most people draw their strength from numbers. They feel powerful when surrounded by support, but the moment they are alone, they collapse. You, on the other hand, discovered your strength in solitude. You found your courage in silence. You learned to fight without applause and to stand without validation. And that is why you are unstoppable, because you don't need a crowd to confirm your worth. You already know who you are, and knowing yourself makes you more powerful than thousands who are still searching. Every time they tried to tear you down, they only ended up revealing the depth of your resilience. They thought isolating you would weaken you, but it only made you stronger. They thought rejection would crush you, but it only sharpened your focus. They thought betrayal would break you, but it only deepened your wisdom. Everything that was meant to destroy you became fuel for your rise. And now, the people who tried to write your ending are being forced to watch as you write a new beginning. That is why they whisper. That is why their voices tremble when your name is spoken. That is why their fear feels so heavy, because they know deep down that their weapons failed. Nothing they used against you worked, and the more they tried, the stronger you became. You turned pain into power, scars into strength, silence into clarity. You turned being outnumbered into being untouchable. That is what frightens them. You carry the type of strength that cannot be explained, only experienced. But here is what you must remember. Their fear is not your enemy. It is your confirmation. It confirms that you are walking in purpose. It confirms that you are carrying something greater than yourself. It confirms that you are already a threat to the systems that once tried to contain you. Their fear is a signal that you are not to be underestimated. So instead of shrinking back when you feel their fear, stand taller. Instead of questioning yourself, affirm yourself. Instead of doubting your place, claim it boldly. There is nothing more powerful than a person who refuses to back down. And that's what makes you so dangerous to those who oppose you. You keep moving forward, no matter the obstacles. You keep rising, no matter the setbacks. You keep shining, no matter the shadows. And each time you do, their fear deepens. They can't understand how you keep surviving, how you keep winning, how you keep finding light in the dark. But that's the beauty of your story. You don't just survive, you thrive. So let their fear echo, let their whispers spread, let their doubts linger. None of it has the power to stop you. Because the truth is, you were built for this. You are the warrior who carries the weight of an army within, the fighter who cannot be silenced, the survivor who turns every battle into strength. And when one person has that kind of resilience, standing against everyone becomes more than possible. It becomes inevitable. They fear you because they cannot figure out how you keep standing. Every time they thought you had reached your breaking point, you proved them wrong. They expected you to disappear quietly, but instead you rose louder than ever. They expected you to collapse under the weight of challenges, but you carried them with grace. They expected you to surrender when outnumbered, but you became an army of one standing firm against everyone. And now, they are left speechless, because you have turned every attempt to destroy you into undeniable evidence of your strength. What they don't realize is that you have been forged in fire. Every setback became a lesson. Every betrayal became fuel. Every rejection became redirection. You didn't grow weaker in the waiting, you grew stronger. You didn't lose your voice in the silence. You discovered its true power. You didn't crumble under pressure. You became a diamond that could not be broken. And that is why they fear you to death. Because they know they are not dealing with the same person they once underestimated. They are facing someone who has transformed into something greater. Think about how many times you could have given up. How many times the pain felt unbearable. How many times the darkness seemed too heavy, yet you refused to let go. That refusal is what built your resilience. That determination is what set you apart. That strength is what makes you unstoppable now. People fear what they cannot control, and they cannot control someone who refuses to quit. And this is what truly shakes them. You don't need validation to move forward. You don't need approval to rise. You don't need a crowd to give you courage. You move because purpose pushes you forward. You rise because destiny calls your name. You fight because strength is already inside you. And when someone no longer depends on outside validation, they become impossible to break. That is who you are now. Untouchable, unshakable, unbreakable. They gather in groups, but even as one, you stand taller. They shout in numbers, but your silence carries more weight. They try to surround you, but you remain centered. And that balance unsettles them. Because an army of one is more dangerous than an army of thousands when that one is fueled by vision, faith, and courage. You don't need the noise of the crowd. You carry the voice of conviction. You don't need the strength of many. You embody the strength of purpose. So let them fear you. Let them whisper. Let them doubt. Let them plot. None of it changes who you are. Their fear is their weakness, not yours. Their fear is proof of your progress, not your failure. Their fear is the shadow cast by the light you carry. And the brighter you shine, the larger their shadow becomes. This is why your story is so important. You are not just rising for yourself. You are rising as proof to others that one person can make a difference. You are showing that even when you stand alone, you can shift the atmosphere. You are proving that courage outweighs numbers, that resilience overpowers resistance, that faith conquers fear. And when people see that, they will not just fear you, they will be inspired by you. So don't hide, don't shrink, don't silence yourself to make others comfortable. Stand tall, speak boldly, walk confidently. Because the ones who fear you the most are the ones who tried hardest to break you, and they failed. And now, their fear is nothing more than the soundtrack to your rise. They fear you because you expose the truth about strength. Most people believe power comes from numbers, from followers, from influence. But your life shows the opposite. That true power is forged in solitude, in silence, in struggle. You became an army of one, not because you had people cheering for you, but because you had the courage to stand when no one else would. And that is why their fear is so loud now. It's not about what you have, it's about who you've become. They realize they are standing across from someone who cannot be shaken, even when outnumbered. Think back to the times when you walked alone, the nights you carried burdens heavier than your shoulders were meant to bear, the mornings you rose with doubts pressing against your chest, the moments when betrayal cut deep and disappointment made you question if you could continue. Those were the moments that built you. While they thought you were being destroyed, you were being shaped. While they thought you were finished, you were being refined. And every scar became a reminder that you cannot be broken. This is why you stand today, as proof that one person can rise against everyone and still win. The reason their fear runs so deep is because they tried everything. They used words to cut you down, but your voice still echoes. They used silence to erase you, but your presence still fills the space. They used rejection to weaken you, but it only made you stronger. Every weapon they formed failed, and each failure left them more afraid. Because they know now that nothing they use can stop you. And when someone is unstoppable, fear becomes the only option for those who oppose them. Your story is different because you didn't just endure, you transformed. Endurance alone is survival, but transformation is power. You took the pain and turned it into wisdom. You took the rejection and turned it into redirection. You took the fear they placed on your name and turned it into fuel for your fire. That transformation is what makes you feared. They don't just see someone who survived. They see someone who has become stronger than they could ever imagine. And here's what unsettles them most. You don't need to fight loud battles anymore. You don't need to prove your worth or justify your existence. Your very presence is enough. When you walk into a room, they feel it. When you speak, they listen, even if they don't admit it. When you stand tall, their plans fall apart. That quiet authority is what they fear most, because it cannot be challenged by noise or numbers. It comes from within, and they have no way to touch it. Remember this: being feared is not about intimidation. It's about recognition. It means they see what you carry, even if they can't put it into words. They fear you because your resilience mirrors their fragility. They fear you because your courage highlights their hesitation. They fear you because your survival proves their attempts failed. Every step you take forward is a reminder that their strategies didn't work, and that realization eats at them. So when you feel the weight of their stares, when you hear the whispers, when you notice the resistance, don't shrink. Don't question your worth. Don't wonder if you should tone yourself down. Instead, let their fear confirm your progress. Let it remind you that you are on the right path. Let it fuel your determination to keep going. Because nothing is more powerful than an army of one who refuses to be silenced. And nothing is more frightening to them than the realization that you are still standing. The truth is this: they fear you because you are already victorious. Not because you avoided battles, but because you fought them and won. Not because you had it easy, but because you turned difficulty into destiny. Not because you never fell, but because every fall became a rise. That kind of victory cannot be faked, and it cannot be denied. It is real, it is visible, and it is terrifying to anyone who tried to see you broken. So keep rising, keep walking, as the army of one who stands against everyone. Keep reminding them that numbers mean nothing when faced with resilience, faith, and courage, because your very existence is the proof that fear is powerless against someone who refuses to quit. They fear you because every attempt to erase you has failed. They wrote you off as finished, but you returned stronger. They whispered lies about you, but the truth survived. They tried to drown you in noise, but your voice cut through louder than ever. Each time they thought it was the end, it was only the beginning of another rise. That resilience is why they tremble, because you have proven that you cannot be destroyed. You are the army of one that stands tall, even when surrounded by everyone else, and that image alone shakes them to their core. Fear has a way of exposing people. It reveals their insecurities, their doubts, their limits. And when they look at you, they see all of that reflected back at them. They don't just fear your strength, they fear the way your strength highlights their weakness. They don't just fear your courage, they fear the way your courage exposes their hesitation. They don't just fear your survival, they fear the reminder that no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't stop you. You became the living reminder that their power over you was always an illusion. Think about this. Fear doesn't attach itself to the ordinary. No one fears someone who blends into the crowd. No one fears someone who settles for less. No one fears someone who gives up when life gets hard. Fear only attaches itself to the extraordinary, to those who refuse to bow down, to those who carry a fire that cannot be extinguished. That is you. That is why the whispers follow you. That is why the tension rises when you step into the room. That is why the atmosphere shifts when your presence fills the space. You are feared because you are powerful, and power has always made the weak uncomfortable. But here's the truth. Their fear is not your burden. It is their acknowledgement. Without realizing it, they are confessing your greatness. Every time they doubt you, they are declaring your potential. Every time they resist you, they are proving your influence. Every time they whisper about you, they are spreading your name further than you could on your own. Their fear is the free publicity of your resilience, the unintentional announcement of your rise. This is why you must not shrink yourself to make others comfortable. When you lower your light, it doesn't make them less afraid. It only makes you less fulfilled. When you silence your voice, it doesn't calm their fears. It only robs the world of your truth. When you hide your strength, it doesn't ease their insecurities. It only delays your destiny. So stop apologizing for the weight you carry. Stop questioning if you are too much. Stop wondering if you should tone yourself down. You were not made to blend in. You were made to stand out. Remember the image: an army of one against everyone. That is not weakness. It is victory. Because one person who has discovered their purpose cannot be defeated by a crowd who lives without it. One person with courage outweighs 1,000 who move in fear. One person who refuses to quit is more powerful than countless who never start. You are that one, and every step you take forward is proof that nothing can stop someone who knows who they are. So let them fear you. Let their fear echo. Let it spread. Let it grow. Because the louder their fear becomes, the clearer it is that your rise is undeniable. You have become unstoppable, not because life was easy, but because you proved that even in the hardest battles you will not back down. And that is the kind of strength that will carry you into the final stage of your destiny. They fear you because your story refuses to end where they thought it would. They expected silence, but you kept speaking. They expected defeat, but you kept fighting. They expected you to disappear, but you kept rising. And now here you stand, carrying the weight of battles survived and victories earned, stronger than they ever imagined. This is the image that unsettles them. One person who faced everything, endured everything, overcame everything, and still stands unbroken. You became an army of one not because it was easy, but because you chose not to bow when the crowd pushed against you. You decided that even if you stood alone, you would stand tall. And that decision became your greatest weapon. Because when someone refuses to quit, refuses to surrender, refuses to be silenced, they cannot be controlled. That is why they fear you to death. You remind them that true power doesn't come from numbers. It comes from resilience, conviction, and unshakable faith in your purpose. Every scar you carry is proof that you survived what was designed to destroy you. Every tear you cried became a seed that watered your growth. Every obstacle you faced turned into evidence of your endurance. They thought the pain would break you, but it became the foundation of your rise. They thought isolation would weaken you, but it became the training ground of your strength. They thought rejection would silence you, but it gave your voice even more power. Everything that was sent to stop you became the reason you cannot be stopped. And now, you are stepping into the season where their fear is your confirmation. Their whispers mean your presence is undeniable. Their resistance means your influence is growing. Their doubts mean your progress is visible. Fear from others is simply proof that you are walking in your power. So let them fear, let them question, let them resist, because nothing they do can erase what you've already become. You are not just surviving, you are thriving. You are not just fighting, you are winning. You are not just standing, you are rising higher than ever before. You are the living example that one person can face the world and still come out victorious. And this truth will echo long after the voices of doubt fade away. So here is the final reminder. Do not shrink. Do not hide. Do not apologize for your strength. Embrace it. Walk boldly in it. Let the fear of others be the soundtrack of your destiny. Because at the end of the day, their fear is not your problem. It is their recognition of your greatness. You are the army of one against everyone, and still you rise. You are the voice they tried to silence, and still you speak. You are the light they tried to cover, and still you shine. And no amount of fear, no crowd of doubters, no opposition of many can erase what you are destined to be. The story is not about what they tried. It is about how you overcame, and that is why your rise is unstoppable. And as you move forward, remember this truth. Fear is the language of those who cannot match your strength. Let their voices tremble while yours stay steady. Let their doubts scatter while your steps remain unshaken.